One of the scariest things for me to imagine is that someday, when my time on this earth is coming to an end, I look back at my life with regret. And I think that's something that many people can relate to. And it's not just possible fear of regret in 70 or 80 years, but just not wanting to look back with regret even now. So today, I would like to share some things I keep in mind when it comes to living life to its fullest. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I hope that everyone is well. Today, let's talk about regret. I really don't want to look back at my life with a lot of regret someday. That is just, it's not a vibe. It's not what I'm aiming for in my life. And so I think about what it means to live my life to the fullest. And I think about regret quite often. But this is such a huge topic. If we would go into all of the things that you could potentially keep in mind when it comes to this, we would probably have 30, 40, maybe even 50 episodes. And I have realized that this is often much simpler and less complicated than we think it is. And so today, I wanted to share 3 more simple things that I keep in mind when it comes to this. And these are really things that you can start implementing today, tomorrow, in this moment. Like, it's really, really, really simple stuff. But I do find it really works for me. And so yeah, that's what I wanted to share today. So generally, I think a big part of living life to the fullest comes down to, this is probably something that you've never heard before, so drum roll please, focusing more on the little moments. I'm kidding. That's obviously something that you hear a lot. You have that written on like every single bumper sticker and every single Instagram quote out there. It's always like, focus more on the little moments, put your energy more into the little moments. And so, that's something that I think we hear a lot. But lately I've realized how important it is to not only focus more on the little moments of joy and happiness and gratitude, but also to celebrate those more. I think we often only really allow ourselves to celebrate the bigger moments of success and of achievement, but in that there are so many smaller moments of progress and of growth that get overlooked. And so lately I've been trying to not only see those moments more, but then also to consciously celebrate them. So what could be an example for a moment of celebration that we sometimes maybe not give enough attention to? A few examples that I could think of were, for example, finishing a deadline on time. So maybe you had an essay that you needed to finish for work or for school on that day by that time, and you almost didn't manage, but then you end up managing. That is a moment of success. Or resolving an argument with someone and standing your ground where normally maybe you didn't manage to do that with that person before. Or just healing, managing to react differently to a situation where maybe you normally always got really angry, but then you managed to move out of that. Or achieving goals and habits. So maybe you said you wanted to not wake up and check your phone first thing in the morning, and you managed to pull that through for 30 days. That is a moment of success. And I think there are so many small moments where we accomplish things, but we don't really give that enough attention because we are so focused on the bigger things that we are trying to achieve for ourselves and for our lives. I've been trying to consciously work on that because I think the most important part is really the journey, and all of these smaller steps and smaller things that we manage. Without those, we would never even get to the end goal. And so it really comes down to those smaller moments of achievement and growth and celebration. And so I've been trying to look at that more, and I think that involves a lot of training self-love because it requires to look more at the things that you are doing well and not only where you are not doing well. Like, it's very easy to focus on the areas of life where we are maybe not doing as well as we would like to, but we forget all of the little things that we are managing where we are actually doing really well. And so seeing those moments more is step one. But then the magic ingredient that I have been trying to focus on even more is consciously celebrating those moments. So for example, for me, my entire life, cake has always represented celebration, because whenever I had my birthday or I achieved something in school or I managed to do anything, I don't know, when we would celebrate, me and my family, my grandpa would always make cake. And I had this one specific cake from him that I really loved. It was my favorite one. And so he always made that one for me. And so my mind kind of associates cake with celebration. And so what I started to do in the last months is whenever I felt like I accomplished something, whether that be a small thing or a big thing, doesn't matter, I would order a piece of cake from somewhere. So for example, from a cafe, and I would eat that and consciously celebrate with myself or with someone else, doesn't matter, what I managed. Another great way that I think we can celebrate those smaller moments is with the people in our lives. So maybe you managed to move through emotions that were really weighing you down, but you kind of manage something in that regard, and then you go to someone who you trust or who you love and you say like, hey, I managed this, which was really difficult for me, and let's go celebrate. So let me invite you for a coffee and we just celebrate that I managed that, or let's go and have an ice cream, or even just celebrating with the people in our lives. So maybe you have a friend, and you and that friend have been friends for exactly 3 years on that day. And you maybe would have anyway met up that day, like coincidentally, but then you say, wow, we've been friends for 3 years and look at all the things that we managed together. Let's go and celebrate. So let's do what we had anyways planned, but then let's go to our favorite ice cream store and get an ice cream each and celebrate our friendship. For me, that is something that I think I would regret one day if I would not see all of the smaller moments of celebration that happen in life, and if I would miss all of the joy and the happiness that could come from celebrating those more with the people in my life who I love, and also with myself. And so I think this is really important for me when it comes to this. And it's also just made me feel much more present in my life, and like I'm much more aware of what is actually going on in my life. And also that is something that I think I would regret one day, not being present to what is there in this moment and being too focused on where I felt like I needed to go. So the next point is be in your truth and choose happiness. Those are kind of two different ones, but they connect with each other. And so I'm going to start with be in your truth. And what I mean by that is, I think you can often feel like we are living our life to the fullest when we are having the most positive experience of life. So filled with a lot of happiness and joy and excitement and very little pain or sadness. That's when it can feel like, wow, I'm living my life to the fullest right now. And I do think happiness is really, really important, and it plays a big part in this. But at the same time, I've had a lot of phases in my life where I was really not happy, and still those are not the times that I regret when I look back. During the times where I was experiencing more negative emotions or I was really unhappy, I often worried that I would someday look back at that time in my life and really regret it and think, why was I not happier? Why was I not living life more fully? And it would really bug me because I would really think like I'm really going to regret this someday. And it would often lead me to maybe even put on a show for myself and tell myself like, Alina, just suck it up now and be happier, because otherwise you're really going to regret this someday. And then I would almost fake happiness, not for other people, but just for myself. And that never worked, because that just does not work. Whatever we push down will just eventually come up at some other point and somewhere else. And so that just is not the best way to go about it. I have come to see that for me, the most important part is really just to be in my truth. So to be truly and fully who I am, and whatever that might mean, that's okay. So if that day I wake up and I'm really, really excited about life and I'm really happy, then that's me that day. And if another day I wake up and I'm upset about something, then that's also okay, but that doesn't mean I'm not living my life to the fullest. I think a life fully lived is a life where you expanded and you grew and you changed and you move forward. And the most important part for me in that is just be who you are. Because in the moments where I was unhappy, it's not like I woke up that day and I was like, you know what, let's just be really unhappy and complaining just for the heck of it. Like, that was not it. I had my reasons for what was going on, and I could not have changed that if I wanted to. And so that's okay. That doesn't mean I wasn't living my life to the fullest, because there is a lot of growth and expansion that came from that. And so that's just how it is. I don't regret any moments where I was the truth of myself, whether that means I was angry or I was happy or I was sad or I was lost or I was upset. It doesn't matter. If it was the truth of me, then I don't regret any of it. And it took me a long time to get to this place, because I think it's often really easy to judge ourselves for not being as happy as we would like to be. But yeah, now I just think the most important part is just be yourself. And with that, I don't mean the moments where the pain or the sadness or the unhappiness might be so big that there is no more growth coming from it. Or you have like something more serious going on there. I really don't mean that with this. I'm more talking about the normal ups and downs in life, and not thinking that a life fully lived means you have to be extremely happy and excited and heightened about life 24/7. That's more my point. So those are two separate things. All of the older people that I've talked to about regret, asking them how they feel about this topic or what they regret in their life, none of them ever told me that they regret a phase where they were maybe in pain or dealing with something or sad about something, because it seems like it's just accepted as part of life and something that made them who they are. But what I do think people regret is not being themselves. So not maybe following their dreams, not telling the people that they love them more, or not fighting for someone who they actually wanted in their life, or not, I already said not following your dreams. I don't know, I can't think of anything else right now, but just all of that comes down to not being yourself. I think those are the things that we regret someday. And if you are the truth of who you are, then that won't happen as much. Why I said in the beginning, be in your truth, but also choose happiness, because I think this is like a very, very fine game. It's really important to be true to who you are and what you're feeling. But there are also moments where I think you can choose happiness. And I don't think happiness is always a choice, because there are a lot of moments in my life where I was not happy, and I would have loved to have been happy if I could have. I would have chosen that. It felt impossible. And so I don't think it's that easy, but there are moments where you can choose happiness. I've had a lot of moments where I woke up and I didn't feel good, but I was like, this is not reason enough for me not to be happy. I'm just going to choose happiness. And it worked. And that was also real. And so that's why I think this is a bit complicated. And for me, it's kind of like a very fine balance of both. And I find that very hard to figure out perfectly, but I think that is a journey, just this balance between choosing happiness as much as you can, because living a happy life is really important, but at the same time, being true to who you are. And if that might look different in that moment or for that year, then that is also a life fully lived. I hope that makes sense. And then the last point is follow your creativity. I am personally a very creative person, and of course, not everyone probably enjoys creativity as much as I do. And so I can really only speak on behalf of my experience. But still, personally, when I look back at my last years, one thing that I'm really happy about, and it's something that I think I would regret if I would not have done it, is following my creativity. And I do in some way regret the moments where I did not do that more. What I mean by that is following my creativity as best as I can, but not being too focused on the results that that would bring. And for me personally, that journey kind of started, I think, when I was 13 and I started this YouTube channel, because for me, my videos are a big part of my creativity, and that's evolved so much over the years. It started with me doing DIY videos, and then we went to room decorations, and then we did cooking recipes, and then we did crafting ideas, and then we did sewing stuff, and then we did interviews, and then we did self-growth stuff, and then we did the podcast, then we did the refugee series. It's been such an evolvement and such a journey, but it's always been my creativity. Then there are so many things that I've done behind the camera, which is also really important. So for example, books that I've started writing, or poetry that I've done, or things that I've made, or I don't know, just a lot of, I can't even think of anything else right now. But yeah, I mean, my jewelry line that I'm doing right now, that's also all my creativity in a way. And I think if I would no longer follow my creativity, that is something that I would regret one day. And this has nothing to do with creativity being your full-time job or having to invest in it all day, every day. It really doesn't have anything to do with what that creativity gives you as a result. It's more about just following that. And for me, my creativity is almost like this thread that kind of pulls me through life. And I feel when I follow that, then I learn a lot more about myself. And it's just a really important journey for me. And as I said, I would regret that one day if I would step off that journey. There is a beautiful quote that says, "What is creative living? It is any life that is driven more strongly by curiosity than by fear." Because that's where it really started. I feel curious about something. I felt curious about videos and how those are made. And then I just started. And then from there, it just came. And the biggest reason why it took me a long time to start was fear. Fear of what people would think, fear of how I would be judged, just fear in general. And in no way am I perfect at this. Really not. I'm still learning this a lot. I feel like it's quite difficult because you can often get stopped by exactly that fear of judgment from other people and just doubt and worry. And yeah, it's a process to kind of work against that. For example, in the last weeks, I've become increasingly interested in film photography. I love photography in general. I had a long time where I was doing photo shoots and stuff like that for brands or companies. And so I really love that part. And so I just started to get curious, I guess, about film photography and what that's like and how that works. And so I really wanted to get into it, but then I thought, why? It's not going to get me anywhere. I'm going to have a film camera with photos, and then what am I going to do with it? It's just going to be a waste of money and film photos lying around, and it's not going to get me any results. And so I didn't buy the camera. But then for so long, I just kept driving by this store that was selling film cameras secondhand. And I was like, I want one, but I just didn't get it. And someday I was like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to buy. No, I said, I'm just going to go in and check. And then I went in and they had this really great camera, which was super cheap for what it was. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm buying it. So then I had this great camera and I was like, okay, let me just see where this can go. And I've already learned so much about film photography and how that works. And it hasn't gotten me any results, but it's really important, and it's something that I've had a lot of fun with. And I think those are the things that I would regret someday, having a curiosity about film photography and then not following that. And so now I've been doing photo shoots with like friends and family who want cool photos because I love taking photos. And so I've been kind of just seeing where that can go, and it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, that for me is just following your creativity, not necessarily because it's gonna get you somewhere, but just because you felt curious about something for a reason. Some sentences that I've really heard people say about regret in their life are things like, all my life I wanted to dance, but my parents never liked that I danced, and so I stopped. But now I sit there 30 years down the line, and I wish that I would have started dancing more and that I would have practiced that more. Or maybe, all my life I always wanted to write that book about that one specific topic, and I just never made the time for it. And now I'm sitting here and that topic is no longer relevant, but this one other person made exactly that book about that topic and it went really well. Or all my life, I've really wanted to sing and I wanted to see how I can train my voice to get better, but I just think I have a shit voice. And so that's why I never took singing lessons. Like, those are all things that I think people regret someday. And as I said, I've had a lot of times in my life where now looking back, I think I should have just done more of that, or I should have just tried this more because it was just fun for me. But I was so focused on results and getting something through something that I didn't. And yeah, I think that's a big part of living a fully lived life, following your creativity. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. That is all I wanted to share for today. Thank you for tuning in. I am looking forward to connecting, I guess. Yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting with you in my next episode. And I hope you have a fabulous day.